I remember the first time she looked at me like that, like she wasn't supposed to. It wasn't dramatic. No slow music, no rain outside. Just a living room, a half-empty wine glass, and her hand resting too close to mine on the arm of the couch. Her name was Mary Ann, my mom's oldest friend. I'd known her voice my whole life, but never the way it sounded when she laughed that night. Low, soft, as if the sound had weight. She was wearing a navy blouse, the kind that moved when she breathed. Nothing fancy, just lived in. Her hair was tied up, a few strands falling loose around her face. I noticed that before I noticed anything else. How she didn't seem to care that it wasn't perfect. Mom had gone upstairs hours ago. It was late enough for the house to feel smaller, the silence heavier. I should have left too, but Marian kept talking, tracing the rim of her glass with one finger while she told me about the painting class she'd started taking again. "You ever paint, Evan?" she asked, not looking at me. "Not really," I said. "But I like watching people who do." She smiled at that, a slow, knowing kind of smile that didn't need an answer. The lamp beside us flickered once, dim light catching the curve of her neck. She shifted slightly, legs crossed, eyes following mine before darting away. There was nothing obvious about it, nothing anyone else would have noticed. But I did. The space between us felt charged. I could smell her perfume, faint, clean, something like jasmine and rain. When she leaned in to set her glass down, her shoulder brushed mine. Just a second. Barely contact. But it left a trail, warmth that didn't fade. "You've grown up," she said, almost like she regretted it as soon as it left her mouth. "I guess," I said, forcing a laugh that sounded too young. She turned her face toward me then, eyes catching mine fully for the first time. "No, I mean, you don't talk like a kid anymore." The air thinned between us. My heart was too loud in my ears. She looked down, pretending to fix the sleeve of her blouse, but her hand trembled, the smallest shake. I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. Silence filled the space where words should have gone. Her eyes found mine again, softer now. "You remind me of someone I used to know." I swallowed. "Someone important?" She nodded once. "Someone I shouldn't have let go." The room felt warmer. I noticed her knee brushing mine. Unintentional, maybe. Or maybe not. Her gaze drifted down, and she smiled in that quiet, inward way people do when they remember something they shouldn't. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said suddenly, voice barely above a whisper. "Like what?" "Like you see me." I didn't answer, but I didn't look away either. Her lips parted like she was about to say something else. But then, from upstairs, a door creaked open. Footsteps. My mother's voice faint, calling her name. Marian froze. Her hand was still close to mine, fingers slightly curled, as if halfway to reaching out. She let out a shaky breath. Then, so quietly I almost missed it, she whispered, "I haven't felt this in years." The words hung there, fragile, forbidden, too honest. Before I could move, she stood, smoothing her blouse, her expression resetting into calm. By the time Mom's footsteps reached the stairs, Marianne was already smiling again, polite, untouched. But when she glanced back at me, her eyes said what her voice couldn't. Something had changed, and neither of us could pretend it hadn't. I told myself it was just curiosity. That's how it starts, right? You convince yourself you're only noticing, not wanting. After that night, I saw Marian everywhere. At the kitchen table, laughing with my mom over coffee. Out in the garden, hair pinned up, sleeves rolled to her elbows. Always in motion, always pretending not to notice me noticing her. She'd been divorced for almost 10 years. I knew that much. Her ex-husband left her for someone younger. Cliché, except nothing about her ever felt cliché. Sometimes, when she thought no one was watching, she'd twist her wedding ring finger absent-mindedly. The ghost of a habit that hadn't died. One afternoon, I came home early. Mom had gone to a yoga retreat, and Marianne had agreed to check on the house. I found her standing by the window, holding a stack of my mom's mail. The light behind her turned her outline gold. "Oh, hey," I said, voice catching halfway. She turned, startled, then smiled. "Didn't think anyone was home." I could say the same. She laughed softly and set the letters down. "Your mom asked me to water the plants." Her tone was casual, but there was something guarded under it, like she was trying too hard to sound unbothered. I nodded, walking closer than I should have. "Need help?" She hesitated. "You don't have to." "I want to." She looked at me for a moment too long, then handed me the watering can. Our fingers touched, brief, but enough to light something up between us. She didn't pull back right away. "Thanks," she said finally, stepping aside. We moved around each other quietly, the rhythm too natural. The soft splash of water, the scent of damp soil, the air heavy with something unsaid. When she bent to reach a low planter, her blouse slipped off one shoulder. I looked away, or tried to. "You always this quiet?" she asked, half smiling, still crouched by the window. "Only when I don't know what to say." And now, I met her eyes, still figuring it out. Her gaze lingered. There was a softness there, not flirtation exactly, but something more dangerous. Recognition. Loneliness recognizing itself. She straightened up, brushing her hands against her jeans. "You remind me of," she stopped, shaking her head. "Never mind." "Of who?" "No one you'd want to be compared to," she said. I didn't press. The silence stretched again, thin but alive. She reached past me to place the watering can on the counter, her hand grazing my arm. Not an accident this time. Her breath touched my shoulder as she leaned in. "Evan," she said quietly, like the name itself carried weight. I turned slightly, close enough to see the faint freckles near her collarbone, the way her pulse flickered just below her skin. She didn't move away. Then the phone rang, sharp, sudden, cutting through everything. She stepped back fast, nearly knocking the can over. "I should," she started, voice unsteady. "Yeah," I said. "Me too." We both stayed still, pretending to move. When the ringing stopped, the room went quiet again. She finally looked up, eyes searching mine, not for permission, but for understanding. "Some things," she whispered, "aren't supposed to happen twice." She smiled, soft and sad, and brushed past me toward the door. But as she passed, her hand caught mine. Just for a second, a silent apology, or maybe a promise she wasn't ready to make. Either way, I didn't let go until she did. It happened 2 weeks later, at my mom's birthday dinner. The house was crowded with laughter and bad wine. Old friends, neighbors, too much noise. And her, standing near the kitchen island in a black dress, her hair loose this time. Every time I looked, she was already looking away. But she wasn't avoiding me, just pacing the distance, keeping it believable. I tried to do the same. It didn't work. She laughed at something my mom said, a quiet tilt of her head, and I caught myself watching the shape of her smile instead of the conversation. Later, when the plates were cleared and people drifted outside, I went into the kitchen for air. She was there, rinsing glasses, sleeves rolled up again. "Need help?" I asked. She glanced over her shoulder. "You always offer when I least need it." "I can stop." Her mouth curved. "Don't." I moved beside her, close enough to smell the citrus soap on her hands. We worked quietly, passing plates, bumping elbows, trading glances that lasted too long. She dropped a fork, bent to pick it up, and for a second her hand brushed against my leg. She froze, then stood slowly, setting the fork in the sink. "You shouldn't be in here," she said, voice steady but low. "You either." Her eyes met mine, the air between us heavy, like the room itself was holding its breath. From the other room, laughter rose again, muffled, distant. We were invisible here. She turned off the faucet. The sound of running water faded, leaving nothing to cover the silence. "Evan," she said, barely audible. I stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough to feel her warmth. "This isn't," she started, but her words broke off. "Right," I said. She nodded, not moving. "Your mom trusts me." "You're an adult," I said. She shook her head, almost smiling, almost breaking. "You don't make it easier when you say things like that." For a heartbeat, neither of us moved. The kitchen light flickered again, that same lamp from the first night, and in that blink, her hand lifted, stopping just shy of my chest. We didn't speak. Her fingers hovered, trembling, before they finally rested there. A quiet exhale escaped her lips. I could feel her pulse through her palm. Someone laughed again, closer this time, a voice moving down the hall. She pulled back fast, but not far enough. Her breath brushed my jaw when she whispered, "We can't." But she didn't step away. The footsteps stopped just outside the door. My mom's voice, "Marianne? Have you seen Evan?" We both froze. Her hand was still on my shirt. I caught her wrist gently, lowering it. "In here," she called, voice too calm, too practiced. When my mom entered, Marianne had already turned to the sink, rinsing another glass, smiling like nothing had happened. Mom laughed, teased her about being too helpful, and left again. As the door closed, Marianne let out a shaky laugh, half relief, half something else. "That was close," she said quietly. I nodded, unable to look away from her. Then she turned, eyes tired but bright. "You need to stop looking at me like that, Evan." "I've tried." She stared at me a long moment, then whispered, "Try harder." But her voice broke on the last word, and she didn't move when I reached up, just brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. For a second, she leaned into it. Then the lights flickered again, and she stepped back, just enough for the distance to hurt. Neither of us said another word. But in that silence, everything was louder. The silence between us stretched for days after the dinner. She stopped coming by as often, and when she did, she made sure someone else was around. The space was deliberate, a quiet punishment neither of us talked about. But wanting doesn't vanish just because you starve it. It waits. That Saturday, rain pinned the world in place. I was home alone, half reading, half waiting for nothing. Then headlights cut through the window. Her car. I opened the door before she could knock. "Hey," she said, hair damp from the rain, eyes tired. "Your mom asked me to drop off her coat. She left it at my place." The coat was folded over her arm, a lie maybe. I didn't care. "Come in," I said. She hesitated, then stepped inside. The air smelled of rain and something faintly floral. Her perfume, warmer now, mixed with the weather. She stood by the doorway, holding the coat like a shield. I shouldn't stay. I know. But she didn't leave. Her gaze drifted over the room, landing everywhere but me. "You've been avoiding me. Thought you wanted that." "I did." She sighed. "I do." Then quieter. "It's not working." The admission hit the air like static. She set the coat down, rubbing her arms as if the room were too cold. I stepped closer, slow. "You think I haven't tried?" She looked up sharply, eyes meeting mine. "Don't say that." "Why not?" "Because you don't know what you're asking for." "I'm not asking," I said, voice low. Evan, stop." Her tone cracked halfway, breaking the control she'd been holding on to. "You're making this harder than it already is." "Then tell me to go." She didn't. Instead, she pressed a hand to her forehead, exhaling. "You remind me of everything I tried to outgrow. And you remind me of everything I never thought I'd want." Her hand fell, eyes searching mine. "You shouldn't say things like that. Then don't come here." The words hung there, too raw, too final. Rain hit the windows harder. She shook her head. "You don't understand what this would cost." "I don't care." "Yes, you do," she said, stepping closer, too close now. "You'll care when this ruins something." Her voice trembled. "When you look at me and see what I took from you." "I already see you," I said quietly. "That's the problem." Her eyes softened, pain flickering there. She reached up without thinking, brushing her fingers through my hair, tracing it back from my forehead. The touch was small, almost nothing, but it stole the breath from both of us. "God," she whispered, "you don't make this easy." Her hand lingered at the back of my neck, the warmth of her palm sinking in. I moved before I could stop myself, close enough that her breath brushed my mouth. For a heartbeat, she didn't move. Her eyes closed. And then a sharp knock at the door. We froze. She stepped back, hand falling, chest rising fast. Through the glass, I saw my mom's car in the driveway. Marianne swallowed hard, whispering, "You can't, we can't." But her voice was gone before she could finish. The knock came again, louder this time. She looked at me, eyes wide, lips parted, a second away from everything and nothing. And then she whispered, barely audible, "Don't open it yet." The knock kept echoing even after she opened the door. My mom's voice cheerful, oblivious. A quick exchange, a thank you for the coat, a hug that looked like forgiveness. Then she was gone again, back into the rain, leaving Marianne and me standing in the half-lit living room, both pretending we hadn't almost destroyed something. I should have gone upstairs. She should have left. But neither of us moved. When the car engine faded down the street, the silence came rushing back, loud as thunder. Marianne turned to me, hair still damp, her hands twisting the hem of her blouse. "She asked me something," she said. "What?" "She asked if I thought you seemed lonely lately." Her laugh was tight, breaking apart in the middle. I didn't know what to say. I frowned. "You could have said no." "I did." She paused. "But I lied." The words hit harder than I expected. She looked down, voice soft but steady. "You've been lonely for a long time, haven't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She could see it. She took a slow step forward. "Evan, I shouldn't be the one you come to when you need something you're missing. You think that's what this is?" She hesitated, but her eyes said yes. Something cracked open between us. Not anger, exactly, but something rawer. "You're wrong," I said quietly. "You think I don't know what I want. You think this is just because I'm young." She looked up sharply. "You are young. And you're scared." Her lips parted, not in denial, but because the truth caught her off guard. She turned away, pacing toward the window. The rain had slowed, streaking light across the glass. "You don't understand what it's like to want something that could ruin you," she whispered. "Don't I?" She glanced back, eyes wide. "I've been standing on that edge since the night you said you hadn't felt this in years," I said. "You think I didn't hear what that meant?" Her breath caught. She pressed a hand to the window pane, rainwater trailing down the glass beside her fingers. "Evan, that wasn't supposed to mean anything." "It did." She turned fully now, wet hair clinging to her neck. Her voice trembled. "You don't know what I've done." The tone stopped me cold. There was something behind it, regret, maybe guilt. "What do you mean?" She hesitated. Then, quietly, "Your mom, she told me things. About you. About how you'd been struggling after the breakup last year. She asked me to keep an eye on you. It hit like a punch. So that's why you started showing up again." Her silence was the answer. I took a step back. She took one forward. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she said, voice cracking. "I just wanted to make sure you were okay. You think that's what this is now? Just some kind of charity?" "No," she moved closer again, trembling. "That's the problem. It stopped being that a long time ago." The confession tore the air in half. We stood inches apart, both knowing what it meant, neither brave enough to finish it. "I shouldn't have come tonight," she whispered. "Then why did you?" Her throat worked around the answer before she finally met my eyes. "Because I missed you. That did it." The air shifted. Every reason to stop dissolved. Her hand lifted, slow, unsure, fingertips grazing my jaw, tracing the outline like she was memorizing something forbidden. Outside, thunder rolled again. And inside, the space between us finally broke. Rain still whispered against the windows, faint and rhythmic. The room was dim except for the thin line of light from the hallway. Enough to outline her face, the small shake in her hands, the way her breath came too quick. We stood there, too close, too quiet. Every second dragged, like time itself was waiting for an answer. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said again, voice almost breaking. "Then stop standing so close." She almost laughed, not out of humor, but exhaustion. "You don't make it easy." "I'm not trying to." Her hand was still on my jaw. It moved slightly, thumb tracing the edge of my mouth before she caught herself and dropped it. "This can't be what you think it is," she whispered. "Then tell me what it is." She exhaled, slow, shaky, eyes closing for a moment too long. "It's a mistake." But when she opened them, she didn't look like she believed it. I stepped forward. Her back hit the wall behind her, soft thud against the plaster. The space between us was gone now. Her breath brushed my neck. My hand hovered near her waist, not touching, but close enough to feel the warmth. "If it's a mistake," I said quietly, "then stop me." Her eyes flicked up, searching mine for permission, for rescue, maybe for an excuse. She didn't find one. "I can't," she whispered. Her voice cracked on the word, and that was it. The truth neither of us could take back. For a moment, we just stood there, no talking, no pretending, just breathing the same unsteady air. Her fingers found the collar of my shirt, curling there. She didn't pull me closer, but she didn't let go either. "You think this will fix something," she said. "But it won't. It'll only make us remember." "Then let it," I said. She shook her head, but her body leaned in anyway, the smallest movement, like surrender disguised as hesitation. Outside, thunder rolled again, farther this time. The light flickered, shadows moving across her face. When she finally spoke, it was barely sound. "You make me feel seen. And that terrifies me. I'm not trying to scare you." "You don't have to try," she said. "You already do." Her hand came up again, slow, uncertain, fingers brushing through my hair, settling at the back of my neck. We were inches apart. I could feel her heartbeat, fast and unsteady, matching mine. And then, she leaned in just enough for her forehead to rest against mine. Not a kiss. Not quite. Just a pause that felt like everything. "This has to stop," she breathed. "I know." But neither of us moved. Her thumb brushed my cheek, one last time, gentle, final. Then she stepped back. The air between us broke. Her eyes lingered on mine, full of every word she wouldn't say. When she finally spoke, it was barely a whisper. "Now you understand." And I did. Not what she felt, but why she couldn't. That was the truth she gave me. Not rejection, but clarity. She turned toward the door, rainlight tracing the edge of her face. And even as she walked away, the room still felt full. Like she hadn't left, not really. Because some distances, once crossed, never fully close again. Weeks passed, the way seasons shift when you're not watching. The house was quieter now. No late-night laughter, no unspoken tension hanging in doorways. Mom noticed, of course. She said Marianne had taken on extra work at the gallery, that she was keeping busy. I said nothing, but her absence lingered everywhere. The chair she always used at the table, the faint scent of jasmine that hadn't faded from the hallway. I kept telling myself it was over, that whatever it was had ended where it should have. Then one afternoon I saw her again. It wasn't planned. I was walking downtown, rainlight flickering on car roofs, when I spotted her outside a cafe, talking to someone from work. Her hair was shorter, a few strands silvering at the edges. She looked lighter. Not happy exactly, just more herself. When she noticed me, her voice faltered mid-sentence. The other person excused themselves, sensing something quiet and private passing between us. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she smiled, small, real, like she wasn't sure she was allowed to. "Hey," I said, stepping closer. "Hey." She looked me over once, that same measuring gaze I'd missed, the one that always saw more than I wanted her to. "How've you been?" she asked. "Trying to be good," I said, half smiling. "That sounds hard for you." It was. A pause. The wind caught her hair, brushing it across her face. Without thinking, I reached out and tucked it behind her ear, the same motion that had stopped everything the last time. This time, she didn't flinch. "Still raining every time I see you," I said. "Maybe that's how we know it's real," she replied softly. We both laughed, not awkwardly, just quietly, like two people remembering a secret and finally forgiving it. She glanced down, then back up, her eyes softer now. "I didn't come back because I wanted to complicate things," she said. "I just wanted to see if you were okay." "I am," I said. "Mostly because you made sure I learned how to be." That silenced her for a moment. Then she reached for my hand, hesitant, but certain once she made contact. Her fingers were cool from the air, but they fit against mine like something familiar returning home. We stood there, no plans, no promises. Just two people who had finally stopped running from what they meant to each other. "I missed this," she said quietly. "What part?" She smiled faintly. "The part where we don't have to explain." I squeezed her hand gently. "We could sit for a while." She nodded. "Just a while." Inside, the cafe was warm, the windows fogged from the rain. We sat by the glass, close but not touching anymore, our reflections blurred together in the dim light. It wasn't the kind of ending people would talk about. No grand gesture, no fireworks. Just calm. But when she leaned her head against my shoulder and closed her eyes, I realized that was enough. Maybe the story didn't need fixing. Maybe it only needed to stop hurting. Outside, the rain softened to a drizzle, and for the first time in months, everything felt still. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?